This is part 4 of the high tea crochet quilt tutorial. In this part of the tutorial, I'll go over finishing the squares, blocking them, and sewing them together. The last step in finishing the squares before we block them and join them together is to weave in all of the ends. So I'm going to show you how I accomplish that quickly and easily. I take my needle, the same needle that I used for the blanket stitch, and I have threaded my end into the needle. And what I'm going to do here is kind of hide this little thread in all of these crochet stitches up here. So I'm going to pull it up so it's parallel there with that stitch, and then just kind of weave it in and out of these stitches here. One direction and then another. The longer you leave the ends, the better, because if they do work their way out after you've used the blanket, you can easily tie them back in if they're long. When you've got a short little end, it's going to stick out and there's no way to hide it. So I'm going to leave this pretty long. I'm going to go in and out, back and forth through. There's no perfect way to do this. It's not like knitting where you want to match up the stitches nicely. Crochet, just get it done. There we go, it's hidden. So I'll take my scissors and trim it. No more loose ends. To block the squares, you'll need a piece of cardboard or foam board, a spray bottle with water, pins, and your finished square. I've drawn a square on this piece of foam board that's 6.5 inches. And I'm going to spray just the crochet part of the square with the water so that it's nice and damp. Go all the way around the edges here. Back and all along the back. I'm going to make sure that it's wet all the way around. And now I'm going to pin it to my piece of foam board. If you're worried about your board getting wet, you could cover this with wax paper or even plastic wrap. So here I'm going to pin starting in the corners and match up the crochet with each corner. And then as needed, I'm going to go and pin along each side. A couple more in the corners here. I'm going to let this dry overnight. And when it's dry, it should lay pretty flat. The corners might not be perfectly square because without any tension on it, it wants to form back into a loop or a curve. Once we sew all the squares together, they will have a nice square corner. To join the squares, you need your needle and a piece of yarn. This piece is about 1.5 arms in length. Before I start to sew these together, I want to show you the difference here between the front and the back of the crochet. Now there is what's called a right and wrong side in sewing. You'll notice on the front here, the loops of the stitches, especially the top stitches here, are clearly visible. It looks like a chain, and you can see this outline of the shell very clearly. But on the back side, it looks a lot bumpier, and there's no well-defined line there for the shell. So as I sew these all together, I want to make sure that I get all of the fronts facing the same direction. I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to start over here on the right side in the corner. I am going to count from the edge here, this last stitch, I'm going to count 1, 2, 3 in, 3 chain stitches in there to this 6 chain space, and then I'm going to take this piece, and from the back side I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to count from this single crochet and go 1, 2, 3 and go into that stitch. And now I'm going to tie just a regular knot here, making sure to leave a decently long end that I can weave in after I'm done. I sew these stitches from right to left because, as you'll see, it's pretty easy to keep them lined up with your left hand as you sew with your right. So I'm just going to go into the front and out the back. Front of one piece and out the back of the other. And I'll keep doing that front to back. And check that little tail inside so I can stop catching it. Line them up, and then stitch for stitch, I just keep looping around and around. And when I get to the place where these 4 squares meet, I'm going to do a couple extra stitches just to make sure I get a nice neat corner. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to come back from this time from the back to the front on the right side of the seam, and then back over here from front to back again, and then I'll keep going with the regular whip stitch. What that does is makes it so you have a nice tight corner here without any hole. And I'll keep going with this whip stitch up until the end. One, 2, 3 stitches in, and a tie knot. And then right away I can weave in this end, just back and forth through the crochet. You can see how the yarn really wants to knot up, which is why it's always better to sew short seams and to try and manage a big long piece of yarn. Right, I just need to go back and weave in this end, and this group of 4 squares will be complete.